There are moments in a man's life when the universe offers him a choice, to laugh or to rage. The day I opened that invitation was one of those moments. It arrived in a cream-colored envelope with gold filigree, the kind you'd expect from royalty or a wedding you're only invited to out of guilt. My name, Mr. Carter Rhodes, was printed in thick script like someone had written it with a feather dipped in audacity. I opened it. Read it once. Read it twice. Blinked. Then laughed so hard I nearly choked on my coffee. You are cordially invited to the engagement party of Vanessa Marin and Gregory Voss. I set the card down carefully. Vanessa, my wife. Still my wife, legally speaking. We hadn't finalized the divorce. Hadn't even started it. Last week, she'd kissed me goodbye before heading to her yoga retreat. This week, she was engaged. To Gregory Voss. Gregory freaking Voss. He was the kind of guy whose handshake felt like a negotiation. Big teeth, bigger watch, and the charisma of a golden retriever on Red Bull. He'd once cornered me at a holiday party to explain cryptocurrency using cocktail napkins and metaphors involving boats. And now, apparently, he was about to be my wife's fiancé. That night, I poured myself a drink. Neat, no ice, because dignity deserves clarity, and sat in my study while our cat, Buckley, jumped onto the window ledge like he, too, needed a better view of this circus. Are we surprised? I asked the cat. Buckley blinked at me. He wasn't. My phone buzzed. Text from my brother, Dean. Heard about Vanessa. You good? Define good. She sent Mom an invite. Mom RSVP'd. She's bringing lemon bars. Of course she was. My family, in times of crisis, responded with casseroles and social grace. The world could burn down and my mother would bring a pie to the ashes. I should have ignored the invitation. Tossed it. Lit it on fire with the scented candle Vanessa left behind labeled New Beginnings. But I didn't, because I'm Carter Rhodes. And if you're going to try and humiliate me with a wedding announcement before you're even divorced, the least I can do is show up in a tailored suit and ruin your hors d'oeuvres. The date was Saturday. The venue, her parents' lake house in upstate New York. An elegant event, I assumed. Wine, string lights, small talk that hides knives. So I packed my overnight bag like I was heading into battle. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of shoes, and the smirk I'd been saving for a rainy day. Because this wasn't going to be a reunion. This was the beginning of a reckoning. I arrived precisely 5 minutes late. Not because I was stuck in traffic or trying to be fashionably late, but because I wanted them to notice. That pause in the music, that slight tilt of heads when the one person not supposed to be there walks in, that's the kind of entrance I was aiming for. The lake house hadn't changed. Still looked like a Pottery Barn catalog, and a coastal grandmother had a baby. White pillars, blue shutters, fairy lights twinkling like deceit in the summer air. Guests milled about, sipping champagne, complimenting floral arrangements they didn't care about. And there she was. Vanessa. She wore white. Not ivory, not cream, white. Bold move for a woman with a husband still breathing, I thought. Her dress hugged every curve I used to know, and her laugh, God, that laugh, was the same one she used to save for inside jokes and movie nights on our couch. Now it was being passed around like a party favor. She didn't see me at first. Too busy dazzling a circle of women who looked like they subscribed to Self-Care Monthly and judged people based on their charcuterie boards. Gregory was there, of course, holding court like a man who thought he invented charm. He had a tan that looked expensive and a jawline that could slice through cold cuts. He shook hands like they owed him money. I spotted Vanessa's sister first. Rachel. Sharp eyes, sharper tongue. You've got nerve, she said, walking over in heels that could have punctured tires. Showing up here. I smiled. It's in poor taste to decline an invitation. She narrowed her eyes. You weren't actually invited. I pulled the card from my jacket like a magic trick. Funny. Looks pretty official to me. Rachel snatched the envelope, glanced inside, and frowned. Oh my God. She sent this to you by mistake. Well, I said, sipping my drink. She's been doing that a lot lately. Then Vanessa saw me. She froze mid-sentence. One stiletto perched like she was about to step into a memory and changed her mind. Her glass tilted. Her fiancé looked confused. Carter, she called out, half a greeting, half an accusation. Vanessa, I replied. You look legally unavailable. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. That delicious silence when everyone pretends not to listen while hanging on every syllable. Gregory stepped in front of her like a golden retriever on high alert. Hey, man, he said. Not the place. You're right, I nodded. This whole thing is a bit premature, considering your guest of honor still shares a tax filing with me. Vanessa stepped forward. Her voice was calm but sharp enough to draw blood. You need to leave. I will, I said, just as soon as I congratulate the happy couple. I raised my glass. To new beginnings, and the poor suckers who still believe the past stays buried. Vanessa's eyes flickered. Rage, guilt, something in between. But she didn't argue. She just turned and walked toward the house, heels clicking like gunshots on the patio. Gregory followed her, trying to look composed. I watched him go, thinking, that man has no idea. Not yet. But he would. Oh, he absolutely would. I didn't drive back home after the party. I drove to a 24-hour diner off Route 16, ordered black coffee and a stack of pancakes I had no intention of eating, and opened my laptop. If I was going to be made a fool in front of candlelight and canapes, I'd at least earn my doctorate in pettiness. See, when a marriage falls apart, people look for closure. Some cry. Some throw plates. Some sleep with someone who reminds them they still exist. Me? I opened Dropbox. Because a man like me doesn't throw punches, he curates evidence. I had a folder labeled Vanessa_tax_2021. Innocent, if you didn't know what you were looking at. But inside? Oh, it was practically a crime scene. Screenshots. Bank records. Text backups from our shared cloud account she forgot we synced during our honeymoon. Her messages to Gregory started innocently enough. Work lunch today. Remember to tell Carter I'm with Jenna. But then the tone shifted. Familiar. Flirtatious. Then outright giddy. He still doesn't know. Think he'll figure it out when he sees the lingerie missing? And later, on Valentine's Day no less. Dinner was amazing. I wore the necklace Carter gave me, just to see if I could keep a straight face. That one earned her a gold star in emotional warfare. The funny thing? She was never smart about it. Vanessa had always treated tech like magic. Tap it, swipe it, hope it disappears. But nothing ever disappears. So I compiled, curated, timestamped, built a timeline longer than a CVS receipt. I organized it all like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Because I didn't just want to confront her. I wanted her cornered. But it wasn't about divorce. Not yet. Not even about Gregory. The real target was something else entirely. A little shared business we started during lockdown. Stitch and Slate, LLC, her little side hustle turned brand. I was 51% owner. Silent partner. Designer of the original logo she still used like a badge of independence. You want to leave? Fine. But you don't get to build your empire on the back of the man you cheated on and expect a clean escape. That night, I filed a formal request to freeze the company account. Just a pause, I told the bank. Discrepancy in authorized transactions. No yelling. No warning. By the time she noticed, she'd be in the middle of an influencer partnership campaign with no funds to ship product. PR disaster? Likely. Inventory loss? Guaranteed. But hey, she wanted a fresh start. What better way than burning the past and the present? I closed the laptop, sipped cold coffee, and smiled at my own reflection in the diner window. Not because I was proud. Not because revenge feels good. But because control feels like oxygen when you've been gaslit for a year. And Vanessa? She just started suffocating. The first text came at 8:13 a.m. the following Monday. Vanessa, hey, did you mess with the business account? I can't access it. No good morning. No context. Straight to panic. The kind of message someone sends when they've already called the bank and didn't like what they heard. I didn't respond. At 8:25, she tried again. Vanessa, seriously, Carter. I have orders waiting. This isn't funny. The classic pivot, confusion to anger in under 12 minutes. I poured myself another cup of coffee, adjusted my watch band, and let her simmer in it. By 9:10, she called. I let it ring out. Then again. And again. At 9:37, my inbox pinged. Subject, urgent. Stitch and Slate. I clicked it open. Carter. I don't know what you're trying to prove, but this isn't how adults handle things. You're jeopardizing my business. Please fix the freeze. We can talk this through. Gregory's trying to help, but he doesn't have access to the back-end files or the vendor passwords. You know I don't understand all that stuff. We were civil before. Please don't make this ugly. Vanessa. That was the sentence that made me laugh. We were civil before. As if showing up to a lakeside engagement party while still married qualified as polite conversation. as if lying to my face for 6 months about branding retreats was just lighthearted banter. I typed back one sentence. Check the Dropbox. I hit send. 10 minutes later, she opened it. Dropbox has this neat little feature, View History. Tells you what's been clicked, what's been downloaded. The file titled affair_timeline. PDF was opened first. Then Gregory_SMS_backups. Zip. Then client_messages_potential_breach. Docs. That last one was particularly juicy. Vanessa had been borrowing funds from the business account to fund personal shopping trips and romantic getaways, putting it under marketing expenses. The receipts were in there. Her own uploaded scans, ironically. I gave her an hour. Let it sink in. Then finally picked up her call. Hey, I answered. There was a silence on the other end that was almost satisfying. The sound of a woman scrambling to reorganize her personality. Carter, what the hell is this? She said at last. Evidence, I said calmly. You know, in case I start forgetting how I got here. You went through my private stuff? No. Our shared business account. Our shared cloud. You uploaded all this yourself, Vanessa. This is a betrayal, she hissed. Ah, I said, now you care about betrayal. She didn't reply right away. I could hear her breathing. That shallow, tight pattern she got when she realized she wasn't in control. Vanessa was used to spinning lies into art. But this time, her brush was out of ink. What do you want? She finally asked. There it was. What do I want? I repeated. That's a dangerous question. You sure you want an answer? A long pause. Then, flatly, yes. I want 100% of Stitch and Slate. I want you to sign it over to me today. She actually laughed. A sharp, disbelieving sound. You're insane. That's my brand. My face is on it. I built it. With my code. My financing. My name on the LLC. And my patience while you turned our guest room into a shipping center for linen tote bags and pyramid scheme yoga candles. You're not serious. Dead serious. And if I don't? I didn't respond. Just let the silence speak for itself. You wouldn't, she said, her voice faltering. You wouldn't ruin my business. Vanessa, I said, you already did. I'm just the one sweeping the ashes into a neat little pile. Another silence. This one longer. I pictured her sitting at that white desk she ordered off Etsy, paper scattered, coffee going cold. Her future unraveling faster than the cheap ribbon on her boutique packaging. Finally, she said, if I sign it, you'll unfreeze the account? I'll consider it, I said. But that's not all. You've got to be kidding. Full confession. In writing. I want it notarized. You admit to the affair. The embezzlement. You walk away from the company clean. No lawsuits. No social media tears. You move on. Quietly. You're blackmailing me. I smirked. No. I'm offering you a settlement. You're not even angry, she said, quieter now. You're just cold. Anger is for people who expect better, I replied. I stopped expecting anything from you the day I saw you kiss Gregory while still wearing your wedding ring. She didn't answer. One more thing, I added. You send out a message to your followers, telling them you're stepping down from the company for personal reasons. You thank me for building the foundation. You call me, I paused for effect, instrumental. She cursed under her breath. I'll have the paperwork sent over by noon, I said. Don't keep me waiting. I hung up, then leaned back in my chair, exhaled, and finally, felt the first stirrings of something close to peace. By noon, the paperwork was in her inbox. I watched the DocuSign portal register her IP address from her favorite cafe downtown, a place called Hazel and Pine, where they served lavender lattes and self-delusion in equal measure. She didn't sign right away. I expected that. Vanessa had always been allergic to consequences. But what she didn't realize was that time wasn't on her side anymore. At 2:14 p.m., I made a quiet call to our joint business vendor rep at Fulfill Pro Logistics. Hey, Marcus, I said. There's been a change in ownership. I'm freezing the shipping schedule for Stitch and Slate for the rest of the quarter. New direction. Marcus had questions. I had answers. Calm, measured ones. The kind that don't beg for trust, they assume it. 5 minutes later, I forwarded him the legal notice. By 3 o'clock, Vanessa's customer service inbox, an account I had built and still technically owned, was flooded. Delayed orders. Missing confirmations. Instagram DMs from customers asking where their soft launch summer robes were. And then, like clockwork, came Gregory. He called from a number I didn't recognize. I answered because I wanted to hear him squirm. Carter, he started, his voice trying to stay firm, but already unsteady. Listen, man. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I almost laughed. Oh, hey Greg, I said, casual as a Sunday brunch. Have you tried turning Vanessa's business back on and off again? You're being petty. No, I replied. Petty was leaving your electric toothbrush on my bathroom counter last winter and pretending it was an accident. He was silent. Bingo. I continued. Petty was coming into my marriage like a stray dog looking for a warm fireplace and hoping no one would notice the fleas. Look, he snapped, dropping the fake diplomacy, you need to stop. She's a wreck. You're ruining her life. Not yet, I said. Just her weekend. You don't understand, he growled. She's under real stress. She can't eat. She's been crying. Oh, I didn't realize you cared that much about stress, I interrupted. You sure didn't when you were posting shirtless rooftop yoga pics while my wife was still sleeping in my house. You think you're clever, he spat. But this? You're just making yourself look bitter. I smiled. Oh, I'm not bitter. I'm efficient. Click. No threats. No yelling. I didn't have to. I had already torn down their house of glass, slowly, carefully, and now I was just watching them tiptoe barefoot through the wreckage. At 5:27, Vanessa cracked. She signed. Not just the ownership transfer, but the whole package. Confession. Public statement. NDA. I had my lawyer check the timestamp. The woman who once accused me of being too methodical just got out-methoded into surrender. Her stepping down post went live at 6:04. After years of building something I loved, I've decided to step away from Stitch and Slate for personal reasons. I owe immense gratitude to my former partner, Carter Rhodes, for his foundational role in our success. Foundational. She used the word. I nearly framed it. The comments were polite at first, then skeptical, then confused. People noticed the timing, orders delayed, website paused, brand handed off to a man they'd never seen on Instagram. Vanessa's following, once a curated community of lifestyle worshippers and neutrally filtered ambition, turned against her with startling speed. Where's my robe? So you're not even apologizing for the shipping mess? Didn't you just announce a wedding 2 days ago? Something feels off here. Wait, isn't that guy your ex? By morning, #StitchAndSnatch was trending. That wasn't me, I swear, but I didn't stop it either. I let it all burn quietly, gracefully, my way. And in the middle of it, I booked a massage. No, seriously. Swedish, 90 minutes. Because revenge, my friend, is not rage, it's restoration. Later that week, Vanessa tried to reach out again. Not with threats. With something worse. Regret. Vanessa, I'm not asking to undo it. Just, can we talk? Vanessa, you were right. About everything. Vanessa, I thought I wanted freedom. I think I just wanted to matter again. I didn't answer. She'd already said enough. I knew what those messages really meant. It wasn't love. It wasn't reconciliation. It was survival. She was standing in the ruins of the life she built on lies, and for the first time in years, there wasn't a man around to sweep the glass from her feet. She had Gregory, sure. But he wasn't me. Gregory liked easy wins. Clean narratives. He was never built for smoke and fire and fallout. And Vanessa? She wasn't used to being the one on cleanup duty. By the end of that week, I got word, through a mutual friend, that Gregory had taken space. Apparently, the man who offered me 2 options, over steak tartare, didn't care much for standing next to a woman with a reputation suddenly fraying at the seams. How poetic. You see, I didn't take revenge for revenge's sake. I took it because someone needed to remind her that the man she walked away from wasn't made of cardboard and routine, that the quiet ones remember. That dignity doesn't mean submission. It means picking the exact moment to show your teeth. And in the end, she got what she wanted, a fresh start. She just never asked what it would cost. It happened at Trader Joe's. Of all places. A month had passed since the collapse, since Vanessa's social media meltdown, Gregory's slow-motion escape, and the final sigh of a brand that once promised organic cotton and personal growth. I hadn't seen her since. Not in person, anyway. But there I was, reaching for a bag of frozen Mandarin chicken, when I heard it. Carter. My hand paused mid-reach. I knew the voice. Knew the hesitant rise in the second syllable. Like she wasn't sure I'd turn around, or that she wanted me to. I turned. Vanessa stood 5 feet away in yoga pants and a puffy vest. No makeup. No filters. Her eyes looked tired in the kind of way that meant sleeping in a bed that didn't feel like home. She held a shopping basket with nothing in it, but oat milk and shame. Hey, I said flatly. Her smile was small. Awkward. Didn't think I'd run into you here. It's a grocery store, I replied. You'd be surprised how often people show up. She winced at my tone. I didn't soften it. She stepped closer, tucking a stray hair behind her ear like that would fix everything. You look good. I do. A beat. She started, then stopped. The silence did most of the talking. Her eyes flicked to the bag of chicken in my hand. Still doing your Sunday meal prep? You remember. Of course I remember. I shrugged. Well, your memory's better than your judgment. That landed. She blinked once, slow. Took it like a punch she didn't argue with. Can we talk? She asked finally. Not here. Maybe. Just walk with me? For a bit? I looked at her. Not the way I used to. Not with longing or pain, or the hope that maybe we'd stitch the pieces back together if we just talked enough. I looked at her like a history book I'd already finished. Highlighted, annotated, understood, and closed. But curiosity's a funny little ghost. So I nodded once. Leave the oat milk, I said. You won't need it. We walked outside. It was chilly, early fall. The kind of breeze that makes you pull your jacket tighter, but not enough to complain about. We headed toward the sidewalk, walking like two people who used to matter to each other. She was the first to speak. I saw the campaign you launched. Which one? I asked, though I knew. Slate Supply. Ah, yes. My Little Phoenix. After taking full control of Stitch and Slate, I rebranded. New name. New message. Same customer base, except this time, I didn't build it around candles and curated lies. I built it around clean design. Honest messaging. A brand that stood for something that didn't rot under pressure. She went on. It's good. The color scheme, the copy. It's clean. Confident. I learned from the best, I said, then added, and fixed everything she broke. That stung, but she didn't flinch. Not anymore. It was almost like she came here to get bruised. I miss it, she said softly. The business. She shook her head. All of it. I stopped walking. What exactly do you miss, Vanessa? The company you sabotaged? The marriage you stepped out of? The man you humiliated in front of a room full of wine-drunk strangers? She didn't answer. You miss me? I asked, not sarcastic, just surgical. Her lip trembled, just barely. I miss the way you looked at me. Like I was the center of gravity. Like I was still worth something, even when I didn't feel it. I stared at her. I didn't stop looking at you, Vanessa. You stopped being visible. Her voice cracked. I was scared. You were selfish. She nodded. I know. Another long silence passed between us. She rubbed her arm like the wind hurt more than the words. Then she asked, Do you hate me? I thought about it. No, I said. But I see you now. Clearly. And I think that's worse. She looked up, eyes glassy. I thought Gregory would be me. She nodded. I exhaled through my nose. Vanessa, he was never going to be me. He doesn't build. He occupies. Big difference. She laughed once, bitter, broken. God, you always knew how to put things into words. I had to, I said. You sure weren't going to. We stood there, two ex-lovers on the sidewalk outside a grocery store, wrapped in tension and unfinished sentences. She sniffed, then asked, Do you think I ever loved you? For real. I didn't answer right away. Because love is complicated. It's easy to rewrite the past when you're hurt. It's tempting to turn every good memory into a lie just to armor up. But the truth? I think you did, I said quietly. Just not enough to stay. She nodded like she'd been waiting years to hear that, then reached into her coat and pulled something out. A small box. What's this? I asked. She offered it to me. I opened it. Inside, the necklace I bought her for our 5th anniversary. Silver, delicate, shaped like a compass. I thought I lost it, I said. You didn't, she whispered. I just couldn't wear it anymore. I handed it back. Keep it. Why? Because it'll remind you what direction not to go next time. She smiled faintly. That sad kind of smile that belongs to people watching a train they missed pulling out of the station. We walked back toward the parking lot. She stopped at her car. I stopped at mine. Goodbye, Carter, she said. Goodbye, Vanessa. She got in, drove off without looking back. And me? I stood there for another minute. Not in grief. Not in anger. Just in clarity. She was my past. But I'd already met my future. And she had no idea what was coming. I didn't set out to fall in love again. After everything, I assumed the next chapter of my life would be quiet. Solitary. Maybe a dog. Maybe woodworking. Maybe joining a gym just to glare at people who actually go. But then came Rowan. I met her at a startup networking event. She wasn't flashy or loud. No gold-plated charm or filters in real life. Just honesty wrapped in a denim jacket and a sharp wit that could slice concrete. She asked what I did, and I told her I'd recently taken over a brand. Oh, she said, hostile takeover or mutual ghosting? Somewhere between poetic justice and a spreadsheet, I replied. She laughed like I just told her a secret. I like that. We went for coffee, then dinner, then walks that turned into talks that turned into us waking up 3 months later realizing neither of us had flinched once. Rowan didn't fix me. She didn't have to. She just showed me what it felt like to be met, not managed. Vanessa wrote me a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A letter. Handwritten, folded carefully, no perfume, no drama. Just ink and silence. She said she saw a photo of me and Rowan online, that I looked peaceful, that she wanted to hate it, but couldn't. She wrote, "You were never boring. I just couldn't sit still long enough to appreciate your steadiness. You were my gravity, and I spent years resenting the one thing that kept me from floating into nothing." It wasn't an apology. Not really. More of a footnote to a story already filed away. I didn't respond. Because sometimes silence is the most honest reply you can give. I got another envelope. This time, it was from Gregory. An invite to their wedding. Yes, their wedding. Apparently, love prevailed. Or ego. Either way, they were tying the knot. In Tuscany. At a vineyard. Because of course. I showed Rowan the card. She raised an eyebrow. You going? Thinking about it. Out of curiosity or cruelty? Mostly closure. Rowan smirked. Mind if I come? I have a few dresses that deserve international judgment. God, I love that woman. So we booked the flights. Not for revenge. Just for the finale. Tuscany was absurd. Overdecorated, overpoured, overposed. Gregory stood at the altar like a man who believed his own press. Vanessa wore white again, like she forgot how that worked last time. The ceremony was tight-lipped, polite, and just warm enough for Instagram. They did their vows. Kissed. Posed for photos. The clapping was half-hearted. Rowan and I sat at a small corner table by the olive trees. We weren't loud. We didn't try to be noticed. That wasn't the plan. But during dinner, Vanessa spotted us. She froze, wine glass in hand. Gregory glanced over, confused. She leaned in and whispered something. He stiffened. Then he walked toward me. Carter, he said, his voice stiff, polite. Didn't expect you to come. I smiled. You invited me. He hesitated. We thought you wouldn't show. Well, I said, I thought you'd get cold feet. We were both wrong. Rowan reached over, held my hand. That was all the punctuation I needed. Gregory looked down. You win, you know. I tilted my head. This wasn't a game. But he knew. And that was enough. He turned and walked back to his new wife. Vanessa didn't look at me again. And I didn't need her to.